And we're live with episode 20. Let's see. Hopefully my... Right. Alright, we're gonna wait for Arsh to get up in here. What's going on, guys? You're listening to a Russian stooge. So what's going on? I hope you guys are doing good tonight. I definitely want to talk a little bit about, let's see here. I'm going to pull up our list. Let's go over to my profile. Where's the list of banks? We got a lot to talk about today. We got the economy, China. Definitely going to talk about the banks. And talk about a little bit about Mr. Putin there, you know?
Oh, you guys are funny, bro. Let's see. Where are you at, man? Oh, she's there he is.
What's
What's
going
going
on,
on?
brother?
What's going on, comrade?
Let's get it.
Oh,
We
dude.
may turn it
So,
into one after this interview drops tomorrow.
dude, no, not tomorrow, Friday.
Oh
Friday.
yeah,
It'll be Friday night.
Friday, yeah, day after tomorrow.
The day after tomorrow, you're right.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I guess the rundown today is we'll definitely got to talk about, that.
Yep.
Uh, talk about Tucker going over to speak with Vladimir
Oh yeah.
Putin and how the EU is losing their
Yep.
mind. We'll talk a
And
little bit
small
about
regional banks,
small regional banks, and I
China's
want
current situation, current political situation, and what else?
I don't know, whatever topic else comes to mind. If you got anything else for us.
Sounds good.
All right, cool. So where do you want to start off?
You start off with the Tucker.
All right, let's start off. Well, yeah, man, I posted this thing because it is kind of crazy. Like, why do you think they're losing their mind? Like, what, so for those of you who don't know yet, which I'm surprised if you don't know, but Tucker Carlson has an unedited interview that he's going to release on Friday on tuckercarlson.com, and it's with Vladimir Putin, and he's going to let him speak. And even Hillary Clinton just came out right now and is against him speaking to the enemy and stuff. And yeah, why do you think they're so scared? Why do you think they're so nervous?
It just goes back. I don't know what's going to come out of the interview, first of all, but I just think it's that same herd mentality. Like we hate them so much, we cannot even have a conversation. We cannot stand anybody talking to them. I think the guy has. I think everybody has a right to give their point of view and how they see things. And I genuinely believe that's the only way to sort any sort of miscommunication, any sort of situation, is if you have to have a dialogue, you have to have a conversation. And I really think that them putting this much pressure, this much negative press towards this, it really goes against them in showing that why are they so scared. I don't know what's going to come out of it. I coming from a president's or I guess a dictator's point of view, the guy who wants more land and he's essentially fighting for his land, um, and he's been villainized so much because anything we know about Putin,
Hmm.
we just know whatever America wanted us to know about
Yeah,
Putin. So I don't know what's going to come out of it, and I they must have something to be scared about. But I'm looking forward to it, and I think the only way to really know about it is just to know his point of view. And
yeah,
I don't know if you know this or
yeah.
not, but a few months ago when Tucker went on All In podcast,
Mhm.
he had brought this up that he was talking to Putin, and he was contacted by somebody pretty higher up in the government, saying that why would you do that? Why would you try to interview Putin? And those text messages were only between him and Putin. That was wild.
And that's another thing too, dude, is like, um, what was that? What's that program called? I think it's called Pegasus, where you get the link. And for those not familiar with Pegasus, it's pretty much like you share a link, and if you open the link, somebody on the other side controlling it can have access to your whole phone. See your photos, see your text messages, whatever. And this was sent from Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, to Jeff Bezos. He sent him some link. He opened it, and they realized that he had gotten hacked. And this was like a big deal, obviously.
Yeah,
But the software today, they don't even need a link. You just need to know the person's phone number. So, I'm not a securities expert by any means, like any way. So, I know that, Telegram is supposed to be encrypted. Obviously, even WhatsApp is supposed to be encrypted. But if you have a program where they could, see what's on your phone and they're in your phone, they open it up, technically nothing is safe, you know?
agreed.
So the fact that and a little bit off topic, but it just goes into more of like, I guess like the I don't know what's the right words I'm looking for here, like the fear, and this has always been riddled with every government of like the information getting out to the citizens of us spying on our citizens, right? Like so that CIA agent recently I posted about it. He got busted for reporting that the CIA could go into your laptops and they could actually, upload stuff and be able to
Mhm.
spy on you. And he got like 20 years for that, And so that stuff is scary. So if they really don't want you, how easy is it for them to take you out if you are going against their wishes? And it's so funny because they're accusing Russia of that, but how much of that do we do ourselves? How much propaganda do we play ourselves?
Yeah. And I genuinely believe that whenever these protocols were put in place, it was all with good intention and it was supposed to be pro-America. And I genuinely believe most of it is still pro-America, but also freedom of speech is pro-America.
Yeah,
That
but
is America.
it's
That's genuinely the essence of America is the freedom,
yeah,
right? So he should have the freedom to go interview whoever he wants to and be a good journalist.
but they
Um,
but not when they're having a conversation that's contrary to the belief and the views and the
yeah,
pockets of our leaders today. And look, I think I have an idea if I'm making a bold prediction of like what Putin's going to say. It's no secret what, and this is something that, like the guy that messaged me right away and he was like, "Oh, you're a Russian, puppet." And it's like, bro, like what, for me, it's like this. It's very simple. I have a lot of very, very close friends of mine that are in the military, and I know their kids. I know their wives. I don't want them to be, I don't want those kids to be fatherless, and I don't want to lose my friends over a war that we're sending them
yeah,
off to fight for what, and to me. That's always the number one biggest thing is that to me personally, I do have a vested interest in this where I'm like, no, I don't want my friends to go die. They're more than happy, like not happy, but like they love their country. That's
yeah,
why they signed up. That's why they do it. But if they're gonna go and they're gonna give their life and shed their blood, it better be,
for
for
good
a,
reason, for a really
a
good reason.
damn good reason. More than just we need to protect our image and whatever. Who gives a shit? If we're safe here, if Americans are safe, that should be the number one priority. Why are we wasting American dollars, American lives, if why? Because our dollars are going to get, who gives a shit? Our lives are more important than the influence that we're going to have. And that's the stance. But I think the
Even with the
stance,
weaker dollar, we'll still be the strongest economy in the world.
we would, bro, because it's very simple. Simply put, it's people feel safe here. When you come
100%.
to America and you buy a property, you are not scared that somebody's going to come and just steal it from you.
Yeah,
There's a court system, there's a process, and a lot of countries don't have that.
yeah,
And that's the number one, thing about America is you actually feel safe to conduct business here. It's not just like the dollar strong and whatever, right? It's safety is a very, very, very high on the totem pole. But for Putin, I know what he's going to say. I think I have a very strong idea. He's going to straight up say, and it's true, the day that the USSR, fell, and Putin's whole strategy has been to, they say it's to rebuild the Soviet bloc and make Russia great again, but it's more like, Russia's trying to protect this interest. Whether you like Putin or you don't, how would we feel if China started putting nuclear weapons on Mexico's borders?
yeah.
Very, very simply put, if I'm asking you that question right now. Like, I mean, it's happening in Cuba, which I'm surprised as hell we haven't done anything about really yet, but it's not like at a grand scale. But I'm talking about full blown. If today China said, we are going to put, or how about this, BRICS? BRICS said, we're going to, we now have a coalition ourselves, and we're going to put a lot of fighter jets, bases, and nuclear weapons on the border of America. What do you think America would do?
We'll take them out. We'll try
So,
to
so
protect our grounds. That's literally what Russia's doing. So just like I said earlier, you got to at least hear the guy out, see what he has to say. Can't make up your mind about him before you even heard him.
and okay, so yeah, I'm making a prediction, but what you're saying is actually logical and
Yeah.
rational. It's like if me and you had a beef, but we've never talked, and it's like I just don't like you. I want to rip your head off. It's like, don't you think it's a good idea that we sit down and we talk first to figure out why is it that I hate you or what's going on
Yeah.
before we just go and rip each other's heads off? Like, is that such a crazy idea? Is that radical?
It, I genuinely feel like that's we talked about this last time as well, where we're like, if we get Biden versus Trump, we may not even get the debate because the left's going to go, there's no way we're going to have a conversation with this guy. So the whole point of like, there's no way we're even going to talk about this is not a way to solve things. It's just going to escalate things, and it's going to make things worse, and it's really brainwashing
So
people.
what is do you think it's just mostly and strictly this is just surely a play for them to maintain power, to be able to control the narrative and to be able to push what they want down our throats? Like,
Yes.
for example, it, and and there's no way. So why are so many people for it? And when I mean so many, I'm talking about like 39 or 40% of Biden's supporters support everything that he does. So 40% of the voting population, apparently 40% polled, agree with everything that's being said. How? I don't, it
Limited
doesn't,
exposure. They don't know anything else. This is all they've ever been exposed to. This is all they know.
and they're, and like, and for example, one of the things is, and I know this as a fact because I posted this, the clip of Biden saying, Trump and his MAGA Republicans are stopping the border from being funded. But the truth is that bill includes all kinds of money to, Ukraine and to, no, I was going to say Yemen, but
Ukraine,
no,
Israel.
yeah, there you go, Israel and the West Bank.
Yeah.
And, and it's still today, it's like, where's the money for Hawaii?
Yeah.
What, like, and so when people run with that narrative, they're like, oh, see, Trump doesn't want border security. There's more money being given to outside countries than actually securing the border, and they're trying to just push
Bro,
that down. But if they get to control
Biden came into office, started taking the wire down. He's the one with open borders. They want open border policy. They're just packaging that entire what is it, billions of dollars of funding that's going to go to the other institutions, and that's actually going to circle back into the American weapon
yeah.
companies. That's literally what it is. It's just getting circulated through those countries right back into the Lockheed Martins of America.
But here's another crazy thing, and I'm trying to be careful about what I post,
You don't
because
want to,
if I keep getting censored, I mean, it's
yeah,
crazy, bro. I went from having an 8 million reach monthly down to only 250,000 because it's only
wow.
being shown to. It's crazy. All because I posted, and what I got in trouble for posting was just saying, hey, Trump wasn't on the Epstein list, and somebody came and fact checked it. The fact checker fact checked it and said, we know that. It's not new information. And because of that, I got a strike. Because I stated that Trump was not on the Epstein list. They said, we know that. And this was in 2019 that he wasn't on the list, or 2020 he wasn't on the list, and that this is false information. I was like, well, I'm just stating he was never on the list. And I got, so it I got to be careful
I'm
about what I post, but there was an interview.
surprised they even give you a reason, because most of the time it's just a generic text that just has a bunch of like, oh, it may be blocked for A, B, C, D reasons. We don't know specifics, and they just say, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, no, this time they gave me that reason, and
Interesting.
they didn't give me. And even when I tried to appeal it, they were like, no, what we said is right, what you said is wrong, and that's it. And I've been a good boy. I've got no strikes, pretty much like up until then. So I think I'll be off the hook March 5th. March 5th is when I'll be unbanned or unshadow banned. But my point was there was a video that I wanted to share, but I was like, here we go. I'm scared. And this was literally a guy. He went to these immigrants that crossed over, and he simply asked the immigrants. He said, um, "If you could vote, who would you vote for today?" And I shit you not, who do you think they all said?
I have no idea.
Joe Biden. They were like,
Yeah,
Biden is helping us. The Democrats are helping us, so we're going to vote for Joe Biden. So is it really a conspiracy theory to think that we're letting these immigrants, come over, and what we're, you know, essentially what the Democratic Party is trying to do is get more voters to dilute and to stay in power. They don't
that's
really
that's
care.
that's apparently that's their whole agenda, right? With letting more
That
people in. That's
That's it.
all it is.
I feel that.
Yeah, just get more voters.
That's what I believe is happening. And if I say something like that, if I post it or whatever, it's like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. There's no evidence there. It's like, am I the one that's crazy? Because like this guy literally went to interview the people that walked over, and he's like, hey, who would you vote for if you could vote? And don't get me wrong, what's going to end up happening is even if that border is secure, the Democrats are going to win because they're probably going to be more stubborn about this, or they're going to get enough votes eventually in it. But basically, all these people are probably going to get nationalized. Every single person that crossed over, they're going to end up getting citizenship.
We've always had, going back, like way back when, we've always had illegal immigrants coming in.
Yeah,
There's always been this, like, like you don't really say much about it, but just kind of it's been kept under the wraps that we need cheap labor, and that's why we're letting people cross over. But that number has gone 30x since COVID. It was this, and then a lot of those guys, we only know the numbers, people that are getting arrested, that are getting fingerprinted. We don't know people that are crossing over and just running over. Because a lot of people want to get caught. They want to get caught. They want to claim asylum, and they want to get in the system. They want to get fingerprinted. But a lot of the people don't, and they just kind of go under the radar their entire
yeah,
lives.
yeah. And actually, this is a funny thing too. That I don't know. Do you know? Have you ever heard of Channel 5? Andrew Conanan or whatever his name is.
No.
He's a, he's also like an investigative guy. He just got a felony charge right now because he crossed the border. And he's an American citizen. He's a white dude,
Yeah.
right? He
Yeah.
crossed the border. It happened today. He crossed the border over to Mexico, and he went back in to America with a bunch of illegals, and they charged him with a felony. So I was like, oh,
Dude,
that was like, I don't know, that was
that's funny.
hilarious. But
All
I'm
right.
definitely really looking
Yes.
forward to that interview. I'm gonna
Yes.
be cracking a beer and just seeing what he has
Maybe
to
we should
say. I
do
think,
like a reaction
oh,
to
we
it.
definitely will.
Discuss
Well,
it. Yeah.
I'm
Let's do
definitely
it.
down to go live after.
Yeah.
We'll definitely go live after. I think this is going to be a cultural moment. More than let's just not talk about, just that he's the fact that this is happening, right? But this to me is like the start of the death of media. It's smaller accounts like this that we're having these conversations. We're getting out there. They're getting views, getting impressions. But dude, if Tucker ends up doing Super Bowl numbers, how does that change the whole like everything? It changes everything, in my opinion. I think we will never like. There was one thing where he went on X. Everybody wanted to hear what he had to say. That started putting X on the map, and it broke the internet, right?
Yes.
But I think this interview, I think this moment, this Friday, this is going to be like this is our Walter Cronkite moment.
Yep. And
Like
him going on
Walter,
X was fairly, it was kind of limited to the US alone, but this is a global event.
it
Everybody,
is.
all the political leaders, the entire world are going to be watching. Every single person that really wants to know that has maybe even 1% doubt on their government is going to be watching. And I encourage everybody to watch, at least hear the guy out. Even if you hate him, you can't stand him, just listen to him. See what he has to
And I don't,
say. I don't know what he has to say. We're going to find
yeah.
out.
And it's also, I mean, maybe you can point to a time in history where something like this is, I'm trying to think really hard where, look, at the end of the day, guys, there is an active war going on. Like, let's not make a mistake about it. There's literally a war going on. But I don't think there's ever been a time in modern history where we had even like, tape recorders or something where we've had a king, a president, a dictator, whatever, be interviewed at like during the heat of the battle of like, hey, what's going on and why are you doing this? It's always kind of just been, hey, F you, it's you versus me. And I think of like World War II. Like, how crazy would it be if an American journalist flew over and interviewed like Hitler or something at the time? I'm not trying to make that comparison that some people think Putin is just as bad as Hitler, right? But like I don't think that's ever happened in our lifetime. No.
Yeah, yeah. And I would have listened to the interview with Hitler as well because I feel like you should hear everybody out.
I the way I look at it is like, let me see what this person has to say, and that's my problem with all this. I'm not saying, um, Putin is right. I still think there's a bunch of other channels that
There's
he
no
could have
right
did.
or wrong in this anyways. It's just a gray area. We just got to be able to listen to both sides and really make up your own mind.
Yeah, but that's my problem right there, is the fact that you have one side that is so heavily trying to stop us from hearing it because what do they think we're that weak-minded that we're just going to get brainwashed and we're that stupid that we can't decide for ourselves? Like that's the thing that frustrates me so much. Is like, who the hell gave you the power to be able to decide for me what I should, think and feel and make my own judgment on? Like that's
Yeah.
my, I don't know.
I think most of your followers are kind of on board with that. You want to move on from this one
Yeah,
on
yeah,
to
yeah. Let's,
the
yeah,
maybe
we
current
get we
political events? Where we at with that? What do you have for us in
um
the weekly update?
for what's going on with
With the presidential election.
on the presidential election. The only bit of news I got right now, and I don't know, I'm kind of curious to see how much weight this actually carries. Is Nikki Haley came out and said the only reason that Trump's mad that she is continuing to run is because he needs the money to come in to fight to fight his charges. And that's why you're not seeing ads and you're not seeing him spend on the campaign, is because all of his money is going towards the court cases.
Hmm.
And that since she is getting money poured into her campaign, obviously overall they want a Republican to win. As long as she stays in the race, she drains him, and that's why he's pissed, because he wants those dollars to be
Going to
able to
him.
fight these court cases. And to me, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's the I don't think that really matters. I feel like he's going to get free media play because of all the charges and everything that's happening. And I really don't know what she plans to achieve with this. I think her goal right now is like, let me stay in long enough in this political race that if he does get charged, he does get arrested, that he does drop out, there's no other
There's nobody
candidate that ran the
else.
head,
Yeah.
and she becomes that person. Then she has a chance to attack Biden. But I just don't see that happening. I don't know. Do you think there's a chance that okay, how about this? Do you think there's a chance that Trump is forced out of this race?
I don't know. Maybe
Like he gets locked up, or he like something happens
there's
where he's just
the way our
like they do not
system
let
works,
him
the
run.
way our judicial system works, and the way everything is, it's a possibility, but it will be the end of democracy for or just the death of justice system in America, man. If that happened, but if they had something on him, they would have done it a long time ago.
But that's what I'm trying to say, is like maybe that something is just enough to be able to delay the run, because
I
he's already at that age where he's not going to make another, or he wouldn't make another
he
run
won't
after.
make another run. Yeah.
So if that happens, it's kind of weird that Civil War movie is coming out too by A24 Studios. Where do you think that this is big enough that it would spark like something serious in this country? Like this is what would tear the country up, or do you think people would just lay down and go
No,
with it?
I think most majority, okay, it's a vocal minority is the issue. So people that we talk about, people that are on media, people that are on TikToks posting, whether it's left or right, it's it's a minority that's vocal. Majority of America just wants to go to their 9 to 5, drink a beer at night, put their kids to sleep, have a roof over their head, have a car to drive, and that's about it. That's where majority of America is. But that majority of America doesn't talk much. They don't really give a shit. Okay, they're just busy in their day-to-day lives. That's my analogy on this. It's the vocal minority, whether it's far left or far right. I don't think it's enough. I don't think anything in this at this moment is just enough to divide America and then break out another civil war. I don't think that would happen.
So do you think that we're at that point where, and are you basing this also off of, because like what happened with COVID, like we kind of just went with the program, even though
Yeah,
some of us were like, we just kind of go with it.
pretty much. I mean, you relocated to Texas. I had moved to Texas during COVID as well. So you just kind of go find you go find your group, you go find the people you associate with. And that's also a problem where everybody around you thinks alike and you're not allowed to think
Yeah.
otherwise, and you're not allowed to have a different thought. And that's a problem on a much deeper route, but we're nowhere near civil war yet. And
I don't
this
know,
is
man.
just me
That's
talking to fellow Americans, you know,
yeah.
just
No,
having
and I
random conversation at a post office, grocery store, car wash, and I don't see that happening personally.
no, I agree with that too, dude. I think a lot of people, well, not a lot, majority, vast majority of people don't, dude. They're yeah, we're busy
They're
living our
somewhere in the
normal
middle,
life.
dude. They're somewhere in the middle. They're not left or right. And I'll tell you what, majority of America don't want another war. Majority of America want those dollars spent here. Bro, I was driving today. We've had rain in the Bay Area. We've had rain nonstop for past 10 days. Dude, our freeways are worse than a third world country right now because the amount of money that was spent to fix these roads, it clearly wasn't enough. They didn't like dig everything up. They just put a new layer of asphalt on it, call it a day. I mean, dude, this is not a parking lot, dude. It's a freeway. There's millions of cars driving on it, and it rained for 10 days. It's horrible.
There's
So
potholes
fuck
popping up
rebuilding Ukraine,
everywhere.
bro. It's bad. It's big enough to like hide a car in there. Like, it's
Oh my
bad.
God,
It's bad.
that's California for you though.
That's
That's
California. Yeah. While I was driving, I was talking to my wife. I was like, dude, we drove in for the last 3 years. We drove in Texas. We drove in Florida, and it rained in Florida more than it would ever rain in California.
yeah,
But they figured it out. Whatever their roads are made out of,
yeah,
phenomenal. And they
yeah.
and they charge less income tax, less money to register your car, less money to renew your registration. Insurance in Florida is higher than California, but Texas was cheaper all the way across.
Yeah. I mean, like to me, with that divide is kind of like, I don't want to see, the thing that makes me mad is like it's so one-sided, right? Like they have demonized Trump, but there's no pushback to what they're doing. Like just think for a second, if Trump was in office, and let's say Biden was running for re-election, and Trump had did this, and the Republicans had did this to Biden about the laptop, about his shady dealings in Ukraine, how would the country have reacted any different? Or do you think it would have been about the same?
As I
Like
said,
if the shoe was on the other foot.
I don't think majority of America gives a shit. It's that vocal minority that would have been very, very, very loud. Unfortunately, that vocal minority really rules over media and social media.
And I think that's the whole Tucker thing is it's going to change.
I,
I feel like
I think so.
that's,
And I'm glad it would. I am genuinely happy that it would. And the same thing happened with X. There's a lot of these conversations that are happening on X. People like Bill Blackman, people like,
he,
All in Pod, all those guys,
they're
dude,
going
they're all doing
heavy
their own
after
podcasts.
the,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes. And I'm glad they are. I'm glad somebody is. I'm glad these billionaires are coming to their senses because the entire tech crowd really follows and worships these guys in a way,
yeah,
right? So you need somebody like that because they would, no matter what you say, that vocal minority on the left would never listen to what Trump has to say.
yeah,
Okay. However, if you've got a tech billionaire that's what it blew his entire life, going up there and saying something, that vocal minority, maybe a small portion of it, will listen to it.
yeah.
So I just think you need
The,
the right kind of representation representing it, and I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad the tables are turning.
that they're helping bring them
Somewhere
back to the
in the middle.
center. And
Yes.
that's the thing, bro, is like I feel like extremism, I think everybody agrees with this, is like on both sides is crazy. You can't be too far anyway. You kind of want to be in the middle. Like, and I just it's weird now that we're adults because I'm trying to think back as time as when we're kids. I don't think we've ever been this far, on either end of the spectrum. It's always just been like really cliche issues, right? Like, and not like I don't mean to downplay, social issues, but it was more of like, oh, what are your thoughts on abortion, or what about are we going to raise Social Security or Medicare? It hasn't been this intense, where you're literally telling people that you're willing to lock them up if they speak, and come after them personally and then attack them. It's never been this dirty. And I used to think that maybe after this it would change, but I think it's only going to get more and more nastier as we go forward. I think it's too late to reverse course. Something dramatic would have to happen in order for us to shift back to what it used to be. I don't know.
I
Anyways,
don't know. I don't know what that would be. Anyways, want to move on to the smaller regional banks?
yeah, and I think this. We'll talk about the economy, and this kind of goes hand in hand also with China, and because I want to talk about Baba and Alibaba and its earnings and what's going on in China, and Yeah. So let's start with the small banks. Um, I think we have New York, the bank in New York. What is it? I'm going to pull it up. Give me a second here. I got to scroll through my post here because I had it. Um, ba, 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 ba. Let's see. Well, I don't have it here, but I know it's the New York. There's 10 banks I listed. I did a post on it. They're all smaller
Yeah,
banks, and
you had
they're.
sent me a screenshot as well. Like,
Oh yeah. I did. Yeah, let me just go over there so I could pull the name up. Here we go. So we have New York Community Bank as down 60% from the beginning of
thank
the
you,
year.
Debbie.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Um, and then we have Valley National Bank down 25, and then Metro, and then you see the list going and going. So what's happening right now is a lot of these are falling because the Fed's short-term lending program is coming to an end. And once again, all these banks are back up into a liquidity crunch again. So my question is do you think the Fed steps in again to try to save the day, or do you let them fall? And what message would that send to the rest of the overall economy right now in the state that we're in? And remember, he's already said no rate cuts as of yet.
Yeah,
Well, that kind of made the market go like, whoa, because everybody was expecting, cut after cut.
I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'll tell you what's happened so far. Anytime this sort of event has happened, they get bailed out and they get bought out by a bigger bank. So I think it's just going to go in making Wells Fargo, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America. It's just going to make those banks stronger, and they take over these small little regional banks, credit unions, etc. The Fed would secure your funding, whatever money you have in the account, whatever money like your local people have in the
Yeah,
account. But as a bank, as an institution, they get taken over by the big dogs.
but I think
That's my
this also.
prediction.
No, and I agree with that. I definitely think the thing that worries me the most is, we already got the big four that are already too big to fail. If they start swallowing these things up even more, they're already, you know what I mean? At a certain point in time, when do we look at it and say, hey, you are a competitive entity and you're out there competing in the market. And when do we look at it and say, well, you're more of a government institution now. You don't need to be traded publicly. You're just going to become an arm of the Federal Reserve System completely. Like pay out the shareholders, you're done. Because in my opinion, it's already at that point. Because it's like what consequences are these institutions going to have if there is no real
And you're talking about
repercussion
these.
here?
Are you talking about the bigger banks becoming part of the government? Or are you talking about just the small regional banks all the way through
No, I'm talking about the
the
bigger
bigger
banks.
banks?
I am and I'll be on the record for this 110%. I am a huge believer in small banks. All of my deals, all of my loans have come from small banks. They came from me sitting across a loan officer or a VP of the bank or a junior VP of the bank. They get to know my story. They get to, I send them my tax returns, my business plan, and they take a chance on me. And when I've gone to one of the big four, that was weird. I don't know what okay, that is wild. But when I've gone to a JP Morgan, a Wells, you don't get the time of day.
Yeah,
They're like, "Who are you? What's your get the hell out of here?"
they
Right?
need 20. They need to see 7, 8 zeros in your bank account before they even take you seriously, before they give you that seat on the table, essentially.
And exactly. So then it's like, how do guys like me and you ever get a chance? If we're
Yeah,
starting off and we're doing that small car wash, right? Or we're doing that small
yeah.
flip, outside of getting a crazy hard money lender where you're going to be paying, very astronomical
12%.
rates. Like, yeah, like, and so, if those regional banks start drying up, I think, those affect the smaller economy more than anything else, right? Because now you've taken that bank out and you've wrapped it to a bigger bank, the big four. And so when that gas station owner or that restaurant owner, goes, or that small service that plumber wants to go and get a loan, that small bank is no longer there to help them say, hey, you know what? I'll take a chance on you. I know you've been in the community. We're going to get this pushed through. And a lot of people don't know this is for smaller banks, or at least the ones I've dealt with, the way it works is the loan officer will take your packet, a whole packet, right? and they'll meet once a month with the board, and they'll say, hey, this loan here is $1 million, $2 million. Here's the packet. They'll pitch for you.
Hmm.
They'll fight for you, and then the board will say, you know what, if you believe in them, let's take a shot. And sometimes you might have to put a little bit more equity in or whatever it is to make the deal
Yeah.
work. But they'll give you the shot.
But they want to work with you, and they want you to make their, again, it just goes into that hyper local thing where they want to make their city better, they want to make their community better, they want to work with the local people. So yeah, I'm 100% in favor of
Versus,
this, but I don't know how this would
yeah.
unfold. How do you want it to unfold? I guess I predicted on how it would unfold. How would you like for it to unfold?
This is not going to be a popular opinion. But I definitely think you should bail out the smaller banks. And look, I don't think and this is a complex thing because it's not anymore. It's not just like a Silicon Valley Bank situation
Yeah,
where
they were
it
just
was just
reckless, dude. They were just reckless with their money. They put so much money into, never put all your eggs in one basket.
but
That's what a banker would tell you, but a bank doing that, it was insane.
yeah, they
They
had no
deserved it.
risk. They had no risk. But to be fair, um, they didn't do anything. Okay, first off, it was really crazy to think that rates would go up as fast as they did. Okay,
Yeah.
I get that, but when they bought those bonds, it's not like they recklessly gambled the money, right? This wasn't like a 2008 where they were giving out money to people that they knew couldn't afford it. Like they literally held government bonds, and it's just the paper value went down, but the value was still the value. Like they waited that time out, they were going to get all their money back. So it wasn't like they were just like they were reckless in the sense. Obviously, they didn't hedge, which it's like, come on, bro, put something, some type of protection in, or just sit on the cash, right? Just sit on the cash. But for these smaller banks, it's kind of weird because like it depends on what's on their balance sheet, right? Because you got to remember, it's one thing if you just have, let's say you bought a bunch of 5-year treasuries and you had $1 billion locked up there. That's not hard for me to argue and say, hey, the Fed should come in, take that $1 billion, put it on the balance sheet, give them the billion, and the Fed is going to get made whole on that billion because the government is
Yep.
paying that money back. There's no harm, there's no foul. That's just kind of like, hey, you made a bad, choice, but we're going to help you with the short-term, liquidity injection. The problem I'm going to have for the bailouts is going to be and we won't know until, we look under the hood is how many of these banks, like, for example, New York Community Bank, how many of them lent out to commercial loans
Oof.
that are just completely, like you signed off on a 3 cap, and now that bridge is coming due, and your ass knew you should not have signed up on that 3 cap. It wasn't even cash flowing, or it was barely cash flowing in the 3 cap, even a quarter basis point up, and it would have blown up, and you still did it. Should there not be a consequence for that? That's where
So
I'm
you're saying,
torn.
so your I guess solution to these small banks is you take them case by case, you take them bank by bank, and you take them balance sheet by balance sheet, and you sort out the ones that are really not at fault, but for just holding Fed's paper, and you're going to sort those out, bail those out, and then let those ones dissolve or eat up the shitty ones.
110%.
That's an amazing solution. You should pitch it.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's not that like, it's because, there's a way, and I do believe this. I believe there are core morals with everybody. I believe that if you sit down and you look at things logically, you could say, okay, that kind of makes sense. That's fair for the most part. And like, dude, that makes no sense. Why is this person getting it? Because I got real estate I would love to, get forgiven for, right? Like
Yeah.
if I wrote it, so it's like if you're holding strictly government paper and you were stupid enough not to hedge, do I think that's as bad and that's as malice, or do you have the intent of saying screw it, gamble? No, I don't. I felt like you just held government paper, you kind of got screwed because the paper value is down, but the value is still there. You're gonna get all your money. You're just
Money
not gonna
is
get it
still
now.
there. It's just
Yeah,
a short-term problem. That's all it is. It's just a
that's all
five,
it
10
is.
year problem. It's really not a bad decision on anybody's
Yeah.
part.
The only bad decision would have been you didn't hedge. But then the
Yeah.
argument would be the yield was so low, you would use majority of the yield to hedge. So why even do it in the first place?
Yeah.
And then
Fair enough.
I can make the argument in saying, well, the government created the situation. So how could you? Because if the bank doesn't lend, they're gonna lose money no matter what. You can't sit on that much cash. Like you got to put it
You got
somewhere.
to put it
And
somewhere.
then at least they weren't reckless enough to go and do what these other banks did, which they gave out 3 caps and they gave out these horrible deals. So for me, it's like that's where my moral line lies. Is like Did you try to do the right thing for your shareholders and say, well, we got all this cash. I'm sorry we didn't hedge, but we weren't malicious with the money. We literally bought the most safest asset, which was government paper. Or
Yep.
we had a shit ton of cash. We said YOLO, gave out all kinds of loans to our buddies and our friends, and then now we're looking around and saying, hey, bail us out. Because that's and and a part of that problem is it's deeper than that, right? It's deeper than that. And here's why. Because if you bail those guys out, right, that means you get to kick that down the road. You don't ever get true price discovery in the actual real market. Not for the bonds, but for the real estate, right? So for example, how do you alleviate true inflation? You need deflation. You need assets to be able to come down. So the only way to do, like for example, we're all feeling the pain on higher rents. Well, why are rents higher? Because some Yahoo decided to buy it at a 3 cap and now he has to charge this. And now no one can afford to live there, because the rents have to be, you know what I mean? So what's the way to fix that is that bank has to suffer. There has to be pain. It's going to implode. And you that bought a, like 1,000-unit complex at, 500 million, now you're going to have to sell it for $100 million. And naturally that's going to cause rent to come down. That's going to make everything readjust. And you're going to have those blowups to have everything readjust to be able to come back down to what is normal. And so that's why I'm for, that's my big take on a holistic view.
It's the most logical way to approach things. I feel like it's the most, I guess, rational in a way as well. That's the most rational way to handle it. But I don't think that'll happen. We'll see how it unfolds.
I want to say one more thing to this, and this is what causes me pause. So we started off by saying like a Central Valley, or Silicon Valley Community Bank. Mm-hmm. I felt like they just got screwed.
I don't think so. They had they had so much money in the stock in the tech stocks. They were putting money into startup world, and they would fund crazy valuations.
No, they would fund them, but they got caught holding the bag mostly on the bond side. So like it wasn't like, because you got to remember when actually, I guess you're right, because I guess if your stock options were that much, you're like, hey, I want to buy this $10 million home. You're like, all right, that's good because I know you got the money. And then, when it went, I didn't look under the hood, but like to me, that kind of already set the precedence, because after that blew up, I think the Fed was hoping that would be an isolated incident.
Yeah.
And what happening is, well, dude, think about it.
2 years now.
Well, no,
it was right. Nothing.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Remember when that was the first one that fell, and then what happened is everybody was like, "Well, what's up with my bank, right?"
Yeah.
And that's when the Fed stepped in and they did that short-term lending where everybody got that off their books.
Yeah.
Right. And so now that's gone again. And what are we seeing? We're seeing, right now, New York Community Bank is on the chopping block, and we don't know who's holding what, and we're about to find out. March is coming. Like it's literally a few weeks away.
We'll find out. Yeah.
And to me, from an economic level, it's scary. I'm trying to get my loan closed before March. Me and my partner have had long conversations about this. We're like, hey, we need to get this thing done, because it's going to cause pause for everybody. Yeah. Because but maybe that's what we need, man. Maybe that is what we need overall. And this market goes, whoa, we need to take a pause, because what has to happen for inflation to really come down? Liquidity has to dry. When there is no liquidity, that's the only time that real price discovery is discovered, right? Yep. Otherwise, it's all funny money, right?
Yep.
And so, dude, I have no idea what that's going to do.
One of my predictions?
Yeah, go ahead.
It won't happen, but it won't happen till the election.
What's that?
The real price discovery we'll see more bailouts until November 2024.
So do you think that, well, here's the thing. It's funny because, the all-in guys have called it. They called it the Biden bailout, where they think that the Fed's going to cut the rates before, but it hasn't happened yet. And you got to remember, here's something that people really got to understand that don't really follow economics a lot, like really quickly, or you're maybe not in the real estate game. The impacts that you feel today from a Federal Reserve monetary policy is not going to be felt in the economy until 12 to 18 months down the road. So there is no Biden bailout right now, because the only way it would come is if they dramatically cut rates right now. Because even if you shave, let's say they came out tomorrow and they shaved, let's say they shaved the whole point, 100 bibs, because they can't cut that fast, right? If they shave the whole point, you're still paying almost 9%, 9.5%. It's not going to save you. It's not going to it's not going to make that much of a material difference. You're still going to be screwed if you had a liquidity crisis. It's really going to show who in the hell has cash is going to be able to survive right now. So it's too late for that. And then that has to also work its way, and it's working its way right now. So the blow-ups we're seeing right now, well, literally a year ago is when the rates went up. Nothing really blew up right away. But now you're seeing it fall into the real estate because those bridges are due. But if these rates stay high, you got those loans maturing from 2019, 2018 that are coming due. So how is that going to impact? And that's the domino effect that really derails. There's no easy way. And then remember, and here's another thing to keep in the back of your head when you're thinking about this and you're like, hey, what investment decision should I make? Whenever you see the Fed cut, that's the indication of the true recession, right? Because you got to remember, if things are good, if the economy is strong, if the economy is healthy, they're going to be able to sustain a higher rate, right? Like you're like, oh, okay, everything is good. I could borrow at 10% and still make money, right? And majority of people are going to be able to do that, right? So why would you cut? You're cutting because there's a problem. You're cutting because you want to reboot the economy. You want it to go back up. So when you see the Fed starts cutting, that is the indication that the recession starts. It literally follows the rates down, and it literally takes 12 to 18 months for then that rate to work through the economy to bring it back up and get production back up. And I'm like, I don't know if a lot of people follow that pattern or have looked at that pattern, but it's not rocket science. It just makes logical sense, right? So like, for example, if we could all afford 10%, and me and you are like, well, hey, these 8 caps are still making sense at 10, we're still cash flowing, we're good. Why would the bankers want to cut the rate? Because if you have excess money in your bank and you're parking at the Fed and you're making 5%, 6%, why would you wouldn't? You're like, holy shit. And same thing for me and you. If we had a couple $100,000 in our account, why would we want to go take the risk on real estate if we can't make 10? We'd be like, oh, give me that 5-year bond. Give me that 1-year treasury, right?
Yeah.
The only reason you start cutting is you're like, oh, shit is blowing up and people literally cannot afford these higher rates. So then you start cutting, but you're always behind the curve and you follow that into the recession and it just goes like this, right? Because then the 18 months later, those assets, whatever's going to fall is going to fall. And then when
you can delay it, artificially delay it for a little bit, but you can't prevent it.
Yeah, I mean, unless they come out and they just say, maybe. And look, we don't know, right? And you got to remember, let's go way back 14, 16 years ago. This is the brainchild of Ben Bernanke. This is the brainchild of the Great Recession, right? Because Bernanke, he did his dissertation, his whole study, everything was on 1940s or 1930s, of the Great Depression. And when they went back and they looked at it, they said, well, the Great Depression happened because there was no liquidity. And we did absolutely nothing. So when they looked at it this time, they said, well, we know what's going to happen if we do nothing. We know the outcome, food lines and, whatever. Well, what happens if we do something and we provide liquidity? And honestly, to tell you the truth, they kind of kept the genie in the bottle. Everything was actually working. But what screwed everything up? If you go back and we look back in our textbooks 10 years from now, we're going to realize what screwed everything up was coronavirus 2020, when people got those direct checks. And because you got to remember, when me and you are playing our real estate game, we're playing in our own little circle. Our money is trapped with bank to bank, investor to investor.
Yep.
It's not really impacting logistics here or somebody's wages or anything, right? But when you pay a shit ton of people, when you print $3 trillion and send it all out, and now everybody has money to go spend, people don't want to work, and you break down supply chains, you break all these things down, that's what really destroyed it. So I don't think it was quantitative easing, because I think that thing was going to work out. It's a very financial engineering way, but really what destroyed it was, it's not a genius take, but it's like, you give a shit ton of money to people and tell them don't work, don't do anything, supply chains break, people got cash, and they start bidding up, because you got to remember, there's less products to bid for, right?
Yeah,
and more cash
demand
to
went
chase.
Up, supply went down. It's just it's basic economics 101.
Yeah. So, but then it's like, so what do they do? So they could come out and they could say, hey, if you own one of these apartment complexes and it was cash flowing at 3%, let us bridge you that for another 5 years, right? But bro, even in 5 years, these were bought at such astronomical numbers that the rent and the growth would have to be so freaking high for it to make sense, right? Because you know this in real estate, you have to make a real return. Why? Because someone's going to have to fix that roof. Someone's going to have to fix that toilet. Someone's going to have to fix that floor. Someone's going to have to paint the building. Someone's going to have to upgrade the electrical and the plumbing. And if those costs still soar because you never let real price discovery happen, all you're doing is stopping it from happening in 2024, and you're saying it's going to happen in 2029.
Yeah, you're just kicking the can down the road, essentially. And that's what we did, I feel like, in 2019, 2020. We've been doing that, and we may do that again. That's all I'm saying is the Biden bailout, we may have to do that again.
But I think it's wrong, man. It's not just on a moral level, but it's wrong on a, look, you need these resets, because to me, this is the bigger picture here too. If me and you have done everything right in our life, right? So like, for example, we're those plumbers. We've worked our ass off, or we're a trucker, or we've worked at whatever we worked at, and we've saved our money, right? We've done the fucking right thing. Sorry, I don't mean to cuss, but we've done the right thing. We didn't vacation. We didn't go buy that Rolex. We didn't go buy that Mercedes. We've been driving that Toyota. We haven't been eating out. Our eating out is Chipotle. We don't go to 5-star restaurants. We don't take whatever, because we're trying to get ahead. We saved this capital, right?
Yep.
That has to mean something. You need to have things come down, because the people that effed up, right? You got to give people like us a chance that have done the right thing to be able to buy assets and say, I have done the right thing. I should be rewarded. My money should have value.
Yep.
And if you deny that from people like me and you deny that, and you say, well, we're going to keep helping the people that already made it. And for you all that have done the right thing, F you, your money's actually going to continue to be worth less. You're a dummy. You probably should have bought that Rolex. You probably should have took that vacation. That's the disparity in life. That's the disparity. That's when you have a revolution. Because I'm going to wake up one day and be like, well, I'm fucking 60. Sorry, trying hard not to cuss. Well, I'm 60. I've done everything right in my life, and I've never got a goddamn opportunity to move up this social ladder, because you keep pulling the ladder up for your friends, and they've never faced the consequences of their actions. And to me, that's like, let's put it, to me, that's been the core problem that's been bubbling and bubbling and bubbling since 2008, 2009. Because remember Occupy Wall Street?
Yep.
That was the core problem. And that whole movement politically and everything shifted into the left that we have today. That shifted into the eat the rich, down with the whole system. And, you shut up, and we're screaming at each other, because if we don't feel like we have a chance to move up that hierarchy, then burn it all down. Burn it all down. And can you blame them?
No. I mean, if this is something you worked for your entire life, let's say you started working at 20 and you're 60 now, you put 40 years of your life into this, and then at the end of it, they're just like, yeah, go fuck yourself. Or it's not, the $1 million you saved up, or your stock portfolio is really not worth $1 million anymore. It's worth 600 now or 700 now, whatever that number may be. Yeah, you have every right to be mad. I don't know. We'll see how it unfolds.
I gotta add one more thing to this.
Right.
I gotta add one more thing to this, because it's we're really looking at a whole picture now. We're not just looking at a thing. The real thing that scares the shit out of me with all of this is, we keep spending like it's nobody's business, right? So like, we have a tax collection, 3 trillion, 4 trillion, right? It means every year when me and you and people watching now or later, we give up a piece of our hard-earned money to the government to go, and it's supposed to be to make our life better, to make us safer, talked about roads, whatever. When we go and we continue to run these deficits, it means we are spending more than what we are bringing in. So we're bringing 3 or 4 trillion in. Okay. We have a 30 or 40 trillion dollar debt. Okay. Right now with these rates, more than a quarter or close to 30%, something astronomical of our tax collection is going to be going just to service the goddamn debt. So we have a little bit of monies left. Okay. Excuse me. Still not a big problem. Not a big problem. Why? Because one of the ways to do it is you grow out of it. So how do you grow out of it? You grow out of it by having the government invest money in the right things, right? Build those roads so we can get more commerce going. You know what I mean? and invest in the right types of energy. Maybe let another refinery come in. So, oil is cheaper. So people get more commerce, they get more tax collection, invest more heavily into AI, help with that. So we get more tax collection so we can pay the debt off, right? But if we continue to run these deficits, we ignore Hawaii, we ignore our homeless, we ignore our fentanyl problem, we ignore our education. We're not paying our teachers nothing. It's horrible. And we're expecting them to work magic, right? And so we continue to spend money in Ukraine. We continue to spend money on BS, and that deficit keeps racking up, and more of our tax dollars start going towards interest, and we're left with nothing. A lot of people don't know this, is majority of our debt is unfunded liabilities. Our actual debt is maybe I think now, with the wars and everything, maybe 8, 9, don't quote me, but it's a third. The actual real debt that we've bonded out, right? The unfunded liabilities are Social Security and Medicare. Those are the buckets. Those are buckets that me and you have paid into. So when you hear $30 trillion in American debt, we really have 10. The other 20 is debt that we've added on because we have to account for that, right? We have to account for me and you one day being able to get Social Security and Medicare. Yeah. We have to account for our grandparents and our parents right now, on that plan. If we get to the point where we have $5 trillion that we owe in debt, but we only have $4 trillion in tax collection, my brother, we are done. We are done. And so first thing that's going to happen, the first thing that has to happen, because then you're going to get hyperinflation, right? Because what happens? In order to make that up, you can't tax it. Or maybe you do tax it. You tax it even more. And then what happens? You break, because you have no more growth, because rich people don't have a penny left. So you have to print it. You print it, that's hyperinflation. Okay, so you can't do that. So what do? You say, hey guys, remember when we promised you for the last 30 years you've been working your ass off and we told you we were going to give you Medicare, we told you we were going to give you Social Security? Yeah, about that. We can't afford it anymore. Sorry. We made all of our buddies in DC rich. We made all of our shell companies rich. Sorry, that's gone. What do you think happens then?
Revolution. That's when people come out to the streets. That's what's happened. Whatever happened in France. But, 2030 X that.
Sorry, I just went on this whole rant, but you got me started with the whole, you got me started with because it's not just one thing, right? Yeah. This is because
you have to look at a much bigger picture, and then you have to look at down the road. You cannot keep kicking the can down the road, essentially, is what we're saying.
Yeah, because where are these bailouts coming from?
We're borrowing that money. That's all it is, and we have to pay interest on that, and it just makes no sense.
And so for me, that's the one thing that's and then so now this is a segue into China, right?
Sure. Let's do it.
So right now, China's going through a deflationary process. Let me just let me pull this up real quick. Give me 1 second. Scrolling down, this is a bar chart article that just came out, and they said China's prices fall at the fastest rate in 15 years as economy battles deflation. Why? Because China attempted a half-ass bailout, but they don't got the firepower like that. So what's happening is real prices are being discovered in China. Well, what does that mean? It means the money that's in people's account actually has value, and now that's working its way through. And so what happened with Baba? By the way, not a financial advice, but take a look. If I was going to bet on anything in China, it would probably be Baba. They're the warehouse of the world. We saw Amazon blow up. All the drop shippers buy their stuff from Baba, and then they drop ship, from there. And they are the warehouse of the world. And they just issued another 25 billion in share buybacks, right? And they're up to
just Baba spending their own money, buying their own shares
back. And so now the total budget that they have to buy their shares back is something like 33 billion. Compare that. So how much of that is as their market cap? It's almost 20%. Wow. So that means they're going to buy 20% of the company back. That's naturally going to make their earnings naturally go up because we all get more. So and they've hit on every other leverage. And I've said this because there was a video that I posted on that. If you scroll all the way to the right, because look, man, money, politics, your mobility in life, it all goes together. We're all human beings. We all want the best for each other. What's going on right now is those Chinese peeps are Chinese people, because I have no beef with anybody that's a Chinese citizen or whatever. We just don't like the way their government operates. So the Chinese citizens have asked, hey, United States, as a troll, hey, United States, can we get citizenship as investors? Because we're tired of this. If you can't do that, then can you bomb Shanghai? That's where it got. And then they went on the Indian consulate website and then they started posting the same thing. So even with all the censorship that's going on in China, right? Even with China using their own state-run media and saying the economy is great, everything is going to work out. The people that are actually investing, doing the work, are saying you're crazy. We're tired of it. We're done with it. And so my big bold prediction in my lifetime before I leave this earth, there will be no CCP. There will be no CCP.
You think
I just feel
that you think it turns into a democracy?
Oh yeah, I think they're going to go through a real revolution.
Okay.
And I think they're going to get everything right. And I think at that point is when I'm also going to go down there. And if they set up their property laws and everything right, I will be a big investor there, because I think they've done a lot of things right. And I think at a certain point in time, man, I just think you could only suppress human beings for so long. And I even if America were to fall, there will be some form of America that comes back. You know, nations are going to fall, nations are going to rise. There is no such thing as a forever. It's, can we wait it out? And I think like the cracks are starting to show now, because you got to remember, the whole story of China has been, look at me. We're the CCP. We've done all this for you. We've lifted you up out of poverty. We have all the answers. Americans are fools. We've done everything right, and we've lifted and we're going to continue to whatever. Well, now the cracks are showing, and now what can Z do? You can only give so much lip service and only hype up so much. But when you see that you were only able to invest in homes and those homes crumbled, when you see that your stock market is not making any money, when you see every single piece of thing that you own has gone down in value, and you don't feel that psychological, hey, China's, hey, G's not that bad. We got to check. When that crumbles, that goes away, what happens to the system overall as a whole?
There's a revolution.
When you lose
people rise up. Yeah.
When you lose hope and you lose faith. And I'm watching it very closely, because now we have multiple things working that I think that we need to pay attention to. It's a multi-level game, right? Forget about the wars that we have in Ukraine and Israel for a second. You're having a banking crisis that's taking place right now in America that is going to come to the forefront in the next 30 to 45 days. Then you're also having the same time the second largest, or now technically I think China is the largest economy, battling it out. And they're tightening. And those two things are going to have the most geopolitical impact overall, because if both those countries tighten up, how many wars can they really start? What can they really do?
Not a whole lot. And at some point they gotta wake up and say, okay, we gotta address things at home rather than doing everything that we did. Yeah. And
like for me and you and guys that are trying to make the right type of decisions, to do better for our family, this is a very important year. Like, this is a year that it's like, to me, it feels like an inflection point where if we figure out a way to kick the can down the road from here, I don't think I could ever sit here and look you in the face and say, we're ever going to see a crisis again until it just absolutely blows up. So then it's like, just go out and take as much risk as you can, because that's the only chance you're going to have to survive.
That really is the only chance. Yep.
Am I wrong in that thinking, you think? Or what?
No, I don't think you're wrong. However, just another point, I think there's a lot of cash sitting on sidelines. So I don't think we're going to see that again. Even let's say Fed doesn't cut, these banks go to, and we really start to find the real value or the real prices, as you said, the amount of cash that's sitting on sidelines, and also foreign money. It was you that posted people from
it's 5 trillion
buying
in the money market. I think it's almost 6 trillion sitting on the sidelines right now.
Yeah. So all that money's really going to come in. All they're waiting for is just a buying opportunity. We may have somewhat of a soft landing with all this shit, but it has to unfold. It cannot drag on. We cannot keep We cannot keep kicking down can down the road, and it has to stop. It has to stop.
And but
Even if that means Biden losing 2024, even if that means you know, whatever it is. And we really should go, as Americans, we really should go for a political candidate that is somewhere in the middle, that wants to stop the war, that wants to really figure out what's going on with their economy and fix the economy rather than handing out free money and printing more money.
well, it's a very interesting. Oh, we got the bread company guy. I was talking to Mr. Lorenzo today.
He
Yeah,
said
they're already coming
he was
to.
in China earlier.
Oh, okay. So he's seeing a lot of this stuff happen. Yeah. So um, he has some pretty interesting takes too. But for me, it's like, yeah, it's wild because yeah, I guess like to wrap this up, or we could talk about something else or take questions. But I just still can't believe they're running Joe Biden, bro. I'm sorry. I just don't understand how that like look at all these problems that we talked about. These are not like simple, hey, snap your fingers. These are multi-level, complex. Like we need to structure things the right way today to make sure that we're going to be able to navigate this through the next couple of decades. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Was there anything else? I'm sorry, or you want to add to that, or what else do we
Yeah,
have
just
left to?
I mean, if not Biden, then who else? I feel like within the Democratic Party, there's really no number two. There's going to be a bunch of people that want to fight for number two position, that want to fight for this run, that want to make this run. So in order to avoid all that, they're just going to make Biden, and nobody would oppose Biden essentially.
Yeah, that's true. Is Baba a good company to buy at this point? Not financial advice, but I would say go take a look yourself. Go look at all your numbers, look at the data, look at what they're doing, and you can determine that yourself. I will say this, dude, they're trading at 10 times earnings. They have enough cash on hand to pay off all their debt. They're buying back close to 18 or 18, almost 20% of their own stock. They're on the right path. But at the same time, it could go a lot lower because they are in China. They are facing their own problems. We're seeing an unwind in China, and eventually that's going to wind up on our door as well because it, it's not as simple as it's automatically a good time to buy. It's like what's your time horizon too? How long are you willing to wait? There's a lot of questions to be asked before you make those type of decisions. You really got to do your homework, consult with a professional. But it's I like it. I like the stock. I like the stock.
I like the stock.
I like.
Did you watch Dumb Money on Netflix?
Oh, dude, it's on Netflix. I freaking paid for it. I watched it
It's
on.
on Netflix.
Oh man, I bought it off of. I think I bought it on YouTube or wherever it was that I watched it. It was pretty good. Pretty decent. What did you think?
I think it was well done. I think it was well done. I think the actors did a good job. It was entertaining all the way through. And again, we it may have been done a little too soon because everybody watching it kind of lived through it, so we knew it already. If it came out like a decade later, it may have been more interesting. But I enjoyed it. It was a good watch.
Yeah. Um, I forgot that we didn't talk anything about because at the beginning of the week I was like, oh, we got to talk about this. It was the conflict that's continuing to brew because all the shit that's been going on recently, especially with the Putin thing today, made the news. And that's the thing, news is moving so fast now. We don't even have a chance to really digest events that happen. But us bombing or continuing to strike Syria, Iran areas, and the Houthis continuing to attack. Do you think there's anything to that, or you think that that's just like it's important, but it's not going to be something that's going to drag us into like a World War III or something?
I haven't lived through any World War, but from what I've heard and read, right? From what I've heard and read, it almost feels like this is how it starts. This is
Yeah.
how it always starts, and it's basically you're not in a world war until you're in a world war. So anything could really just push us over that edge. But in order to really fund them, I mean, who are the big players that are anti-US? It's China is number one,
Russia.
Iran is number two, Russia is number three. And all three of them, their economic condition isn't really good right now. So I don't think it'll escalate any further. But you never know.
Yeah. And
You need money.
it's
You need money to fight the war, bro. And
yeah.
these people don't have it, and neither do we. But we may have it a little bit better than these guys do. So the wise thing here, and that's why 2024 election is so crucial. And I genuinely don't care whoever becomes our president, I just hope they're in their senses to really put us on that de-escalation path rather than escalation path, to kind of tone things down and really bring everybody to the table.
Yeah, I don't feel that Biden administration is on that
No,
de-escalation path at
not
all. I
at
think
all.
there's, and dude, I mean, it's, not, look, if I say all this, it's like, oh, conspiracy theorists, but it's like, as soon as Biden took over, we got these wars going. The military industrial complex is getting their money now.
Yes.
All these weapons we're sending over, and everybody in America benefits from war in their own way. They boost the economy locally all over, right? All these jobs, but it's like it's going to be a long time before that breaks, And we're freaking war hungry, bro. And that's one of the main problems I had with Nikki Haley, and that's the same problem I have with these old, Democrat heads and these rhinos. Is like they just want blood because blood equals dollars to them. They don't care about the consequences. You go drop a bomb on some dude's head in a village and he kill his whole family. That is your terrorist. Of course he's going to want revenge. You just killed his whole family.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, sorry. And it's like, it's that cycle, man. It's over and over. Trump was the only one that broke it. And look, why are they going after him this hard? I don't understand. I can't name, because they were so worried about him dragging us into World War II and doing all this, and that. Bro, during his time, it was mostly freaking peaceful around the world. Like, he didn't come in and really disrupt the country. And look, it's very hard for a president to come in and disrupt a country and really destroy it, bro.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to do that. Like, there's a lot of checks and balances that we got. And to me, it's like, if you think Trump is that bad, why don't you just let him run and let us decide who we want to vote in?
100%. And he had brought pretty much everybody to the table. All right. One thing I want. Anything else you want to cover? I just want to
I'm free balling
give an
here.
exercise to you and anybody watching this now or later. Is whenever you go out shopping, whether it's at a grocery store or a department store or anything along those lines, or even a car wash,
Yeah.
I just want you to pay attention to how they're promoting stuff. I've seen this pattern for the last couple of months now, where it's instead of saying 20% off this item, it's buy one, get one, buy two, get one, or sign up for a monthly subscription here, or sign up for a yearly subscription, save this much. It almost feels like these retailers are struggling in a way where their ticket size, their average ticket must have gone down. They're trying to grow that ticket size, so the promotions have changed a lot. We don't really know this because I was trying to look this up earlier today, seeing if like Target and Walmart finding out their average ticket size. They haven't done their Q1 reports yet because we're still in Q1. But just kind of pay attention to that. Anybody, and if you have a take on that, let me know what you think.
Yeah, do you think that's a indicator of like a recession starting to try to keep that ticket size up? Is that what you?
I think it's because people are spending less money, and the stores are giving those promotions. And I see a couple of people here agreeing with that. Stores are just kind of essentially promoting, because human psychology is just, oh, this is a better deal. Let me just buy two, let's say toothpaste, right? Let me just buy two right now. And they're just increasing that average ticket size where whenever they do the reports, their sales number look good. That's what I'm thinking.
We'll answer questions right now. What's up, Molly? How you doing, brother? We'll answer that Tesla question real quick. I wanted to ask, it was something that I wanted you to talk about last time, but we didn't get a chance. You said you meditated for the first time. I want to hear about that. How was that experience? Totally off
I've been continuously
topic. We're just riffing now.
Yeah, I've been continuously doing it. It's just calm in a way where I don't genuinely feel, like there's just a million thoughts running around. It's toned down a little bit. And
what do you do to meditate? Do you listen to bot? You have like prayer going on, or what? Like
stare at the wall.
Just stare at the wall. How long? Do you time it? Do you like what?
I mean, I look at the time after I'm done
to see what and you just
to see how far I went.
And do you just focus on the wall, or what? Like
Eric,
I'm just curious, man, because I'm trying to
Eric, I forgot his last name. He has I'll send you the quote later. It's basically the way he describes it. It's either you're not your thoughts, that you want to sit down, want to look at something, or even have your eyes closed and imagine that your thoughts are clouds and they're just passing by, right? And then just let the clouds pass by and focus on them one by one, and then really think about whatever you're thinking, whatever your thoughts are.
Do you think it's helping you so far?
Yeah,
Like get more
it's,
focused or
yes,
just get like clutter out of your head or what?
it's clutter out of your head. Think of your brain as like a Chrome browser, right? You got a million tabs open, and now
Yeah.
you're just gonna go, and those thoughts are just, even though you're not thinking about them on your daily basis, whether you're driving, you're like while I'm talking to you, there's those 100 thoughts that are just popping up in my head over and over and over again, right? And those are the tabs that are open. So if I really sit down and think about those 100 or even 20 of them, I'm able to close two, three, four of them out that I've like really thought about it. I've made up my mind about that thing. It just goes away. So
Actually, I
you have
like
less things
that.
to think about throughout the day.
Actually, I think I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try my hardest to try to implement that at least sometime, either this week or early next week. I'm gonna give it.
I'll
I'm
send you the
legit gonna give it a
I'll
try.
send you the PDF.
All right,
I'll shoot you the email after
I'll
this.
take a look. So we had somebody in here that said that they're a New York business owner or own a business in New York, and that their sales were down 40%. Because
Oof.
I'm a business owner in New York City. From New Year sales are down 40%. I'm kind of curious to see what kind of business they're in. If they want to drop a comment, are they a restaurant? Are they a bar? Are they a service business? And like, is their majority of their business like repeat or client based, or is it like one off? I'm kind of curious. And Tesla, uh, Mr. Moley asked about Tesla. Number one, super volatile. Oh, it's a convenience store.
Convenience store in
Very interesting.
New York
Since
City.
in
I feel
New
like
York
those were.
City,
I feel like those would be almost recession proof. It's a necessity,
oh,
right?
usually, I mean, our sales haven't dropped 40. If you don't mind me asking, if you don't mind dropping a comment, is it a 7-Eleven? Is it a Circle? Is it a branded, non-branded? Do you guys sell gas? Or is it just strictly, like a small C store? Is it in Manhattan? Or what area is it in also? Anyways, for Tesla, um, well, I don't know if this is technically like insider news or whatever, but like I just heard through the rumor mill that yeah, well, it's not insider. They're saying they're going to launch this right now.
She's not
No, branded
branded in
in
Manhattan.
non-branded in Manhattan. That's very interesting.
I wonder
I
if the weather has
wonder.
something to do with it, and people are not just walking around as much.
Well, I mean, we're in February, dog. I mean, to be down
Yeah.
40% since the new year, and then okay, has this happened in other years outside of COVID? Obviously, when you were forced to be shut down. I'm talking about 2019. Because remember, 2019, before COVID happened, we were on the path of a recession. A lot of people forget about that, but
Yeah.
rates were on the rise. We were on the path. That's when Yellen was in. And we were marching towards that until COVID happened and everyone pulled back. So I'm curious to see if he comments that. Still not a ton. Tesla is working on the model, not this much. Wow. Okay. Very interesting. Very
Perfect.
interesting.
Anything else? I gotta hop off.
Oh,
Anything
okay.
else
I
you
was
wanted
just
to
gonna.
questions?
No, you
All
can
right,
take off. I'll answer the question for Tesla real
I'll
quick.
send the PDF, dude.
All right,
All right,
brother.
brother. It was good
Thank
talking to
you.
you.
I'll send you the video over later. Okay. Okay. I'll wrap it up with the Tesla question. So, they're going to be ramping up production of the Model 2. And so the Model 2 is supposed to, and not just the production in the sense of like it's going to be like putting everything in and redoing it. Like they're ready to roll this thing out, and it's supposed to be more efficient, more effective, to get out there. And also the Cybertruck. I think they got like over, don't quote me on this, but I remember reading the article and the headlines and stuff, like over 2 million orders of that thing. Even if 1 million was completed, that's a tremendous upside. But the thing you have to ask yourself is like how much of that was baked into the price already, and how much of it is going to be um, now based off investors saying, okay, show us again, Elon. Because you got to remember what really ramped them up more than anything was the fact that they got the Model 3 production down. They were able to hit their delivery, hit their numbers, and then the stock went on a tear because like, oh, we're going to hit everything now. Now it's kind of pulled back because he even said let's temper expectations because you got Chinese companies that are also coming on the market and that are also starting to dominate and becoming a global player, right? And but what do I think overall of Tesla? Dude, if I had the extra cash, I personally, not financial advice, I personally am a believer in Elon. I'm a believer in Tesla. I do think in the long run, it will be most likely one of the most valuable companies in the world because when you're buying into Tesla, it's not just one singular thing, right? Remember, they merged with Solar City. They got a whole solar division. They're doing the trucks, they're expanding it, they're doing the Tesla robots. That's going to be a thing too. If you believe in his ability to innovate and execute, then of course, in the long run, it's going to be a no-brainer. To me personally, right now, like with my capital, it's just too volatile for me. You don't have to invest in every single thing to make money. You got to just find two or three things that you really like that are to your how would I say, like your appetite, right? If you're okay dumping like 100 grand in Tesla today and just realizing in like, 5 months that 100 grand could be worth 50, but you're like, oh, that's fine. I got like a 20-year time horizon because you believe in it that much, and you're like, yeah, that 100 grand invested will be worth $1 million, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, then yeah, I would say go for it. My only advice, and I say this a lot on the Discord too. So on the Discord that I have, we put out a lot of stock option plays. I love playing the market, setting strategies up. But I would really encourage you, if you don't understand stock options, I have a free course on my website. And I did it free because I want you to learn, I want you to know, and then I want you to join the Discord so we can all have fun and share ideas, right? Like, so we can all make some money off this thing. But if you were going to buy Tesla stocks today, um, and if you had enough to buy 100 shares at a time, I would highly encourage you to go on YouTube. You don't have to go on my course and take it, but go on YouTube and go on YouTube and YouTube selling put options and and educate yourself on what that means and how to do that. So essentially, not to bore you, but I'll wrap it up with this: is selling a put option just says, hey, Tesla's trading at, I don't know what's it trading at right now, like $190 or $180, right? So you come out there and you say, let's say Tesla's trading at 180. You say, hey, on March 1st, I will sell the 170 puts. That means you will say, I will buy 100 shares of Tesla at $170 on March 1st, and you get paid a premium, for that. And if Tesla never gets to 170, you keep 100% of that premium. If Tesla goes to 150, you're forced to buy 100 shares of Tesla at 170 minus the premium that you collected. And the reason why you'd want to do that is, well, if you were going to buy 100 shares of Tesla today at 180, wouldn't you love to own them at 170 or a little bit lower than 170 with the premium? That's how I would be playing it if I was trying to make an entry into Tesla. And if you already hold Tesla shares, I wouldn't do anything crazy. I know I advised a friend of mine to like sell calls, and he's made a lot of money selling calls because he's really volatile. But dude, Tesla's one of those stocks. This week, it's worth 180. In 2 weeks, Elon comes out with news, says, hey, Model 2 production is going to be crazy. We're taking pre-orders. They get like 2 million pre-orders. Bam, that stock's going to fly to freaking 250, 300. And you're going to be like, well, I missed my chance. So that's why I don't really like playing Tesla that much, because its beta is even 3. It means it moves 2.5 or 3 times more than the average market. It's very volatile. It's going to get those 30% ups and those 30, 40% downs in a matter of 6, 7, 8 weeks. To me, I don't really have the stomach for that. I like a little bit more consistency in my life. So I try to stick with stocks that are larger cap, and I either try to, scrape a little bit of premium, or, I'll make, during earnings, I'll play a call option here, a call option there. If I really like the setup, I like to play, recently I shorted, a Snap. I bought 3 Snap share or Snap puts before. And I did this off of the fact that Snap was going up, and the way the chart was set up during Meta, it got a bump. But I just don't trust even Evan Spiegel or whatever his name is. And I saw the sentiment was coming down, and I was like, you know what? I've made some money on the other trades I did. Let me buy some puts. Got the puts in, made my cash on that, and then I parlayed that into. And today I was really embarrassed because I put it in my. And remember, guys, my channel is free on Instagram. You can join my channel. I did a call option spread on PayPal, and then I did a put on Disney, strictly just because, Disney being woke, I was like, screw you guys, they're probably going to go down. I swear to God, and I hate when this happens. If I would have did the opposite, if I would have shorted PayPal and went long Disney, I would have made another killing. And Disney went up because they're buying a portion of Epic Games for like 1.5 billion, and they reported good earnings. And PayPal, I don't know, I haven't looked into it. I just haven't had time today. But that's a little bit of a wrap up there. But we're down to like 6 people watching this thing, and we've been on for a minute now. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We went pretty deep into a lot of topics. And if that's all today, it's going to be posted to my page, so you can come back and watch the whole thing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for spending your Wednesday night with me. And if you ever have questions you want answered on the pod, or you want me to discuss a topic, guys, my DMs are always open. Shoot me a DM and say, hey, can you talk about this, or what do you think about that? And I'll try to adjust on the pod. Obviously, if I can't respond to you, it's not that I'm being rude. It's just, bro, I only got 24 hours in a day too, man. I got to get shit done. So, I appreciate it. Okay, one last question is that would you let your kids go to boarding school in China at 16? It depends. It depends on my kid's personality. That's a very, I mean, my kid's only, he turned 5 months today. I love that little sucker. But it would depend. It would depend on what my outlook was going to be. It depends on the mental strength of my kid because, some kids mature a lot faster than others. I think if he had the mental aptitude and I saw the benefit for his future, yeah, I would. I would say, hey, go, But if I saw my kid is not that mentally developed, he doesn't have what it takes yet, then no, I probably wouldn't let him do that. But anyways, have a good night, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you, and I'll catch you guys.